All right, good morning and welcome to the Regional Transportation Commission. Ms. Maynard.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the Commission. Your first item is to conduct your first citizens participation period.
This is the first time set aside for public comment. Anyone wishing to provide public comment with regards to any matters that are on today's RTC agenda, please step forward to the microphone, state your name, spell your last name for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the first public comment period, and I'll turn it back to Ms. Maynard.
Thanks, Chairman. The next item is to approve the agenda. It's in order and ready for your approval.
All right, entertain a motion to approve the agenda. There's a motion to approve the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Great.
And I'll just note for the record that Mayor Berkeley and Commissioner Sagerbloom are excused absent today.
Thank you, Chairman. The next item is to receive the CEO report. And we will start this morning with, let me get going here. Transit Employee Appreciation Day. As you know, the drivers, the mechanics, the supervisors, those folks that work in the call center, all of them are they keep our community moving. They do the hard work and they make all of us look good. And they're really, it should be more than just one day that there's this kind of recognition. But last month we celebrated Transit Employee Appreciation Day by helping our contractors recognize the incredible people who keep our transit system moving. I want to express my appreciation really from the bottom of my heart for the hardworking employees across TransDev, Tango Cars, Silver State Transportation, American Graffiti, and Intercon Security. They really are the unsung heroes of what we do. So that is, again, the folks that clean our shelters, the folks that, the security officers. I mean, it really takes a team of employees that are just spectacular. So here's a look at how we honored our contractors, how we honored their employees.
On Tuesday, March 18th, we celebrated Transit Employee Appreciation Day 2025 to thank the unsung heroes that keep Southern Nevada moving, our dedicated transit workers. The Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada was excited to celebrate our fantastic partners, TransDev, Intercon Security, American Graffiti, Silver State, and Tango Car. From operators and mechanics to graffiti removal specialists, security officers, and customer service agents, we appreciate all the hard work that goes into keeping our community moving forward. Behind the scenes or community facing, the services they provide to customers are invaluable. The hard work, care, and commitment they put into their daily duties makes a difference in our community, and the early mornings and late nights do not go unnoticed. On that day and every day, we thank our transit workers for their services.
And we had some community partners that also helped make that day special and provided some gifts and foods for the event. So next we have two outstanding contracted employees we would like to recognize. The first is TransDev fixed route bus operator Ricky Pierce. Okay. Let's watch as Sabrina Glenn, Senior Director of Transit Services, surprises Ricky with the Crystal Bus Award.
Thank you, MJ. Today I have the pleasure of recognizing an outstanding bus operator, Ricky Pierce. Since joining the TransDev team in 2016, Ricky has exemplified reliable, professional, and dedicated public transit service. His commitment to excellence is reflected in the way he interacts with both our passengers and staff. Ricky has maintained a flawless track record, 0 customer complaints, no safety violations, and no issues with breakdowns for missed service. For example, his on-time performance is far above the industry standard and currently at over 97%. He never misses an opportunity to provide our customers with a kind word, a safe ride, or simply to be there with a smile. Ricky is also known for being respectful, courteous, and professional, earning the appreciation of dispatchers and supervisors who can always count on his calm, steady, and reassuring manner. Now, let's go surprise Ricky with the Crystal Bus Award. Hey, Ricky. Hi, how are you? I'm Sabrina Glenn. I'm the Senior Director of Transit for the RTC, and I am here on behalf of MJ Maynard and our Board of Commissioners to acknowledge your amazing service over the last several years. So, on behalf of them, I would like to provide you with this crystal bus and to thank you for all of the hard work and dedication you've had over the years for the project. Thank you.
thank you.
Absolutely.
Honored. Oh, this is a blessing. God is good.
Yeah.
Amen. It is an honor. Thank
Well,
you.
no, it's our honor because of all the hard work that you've done over the years. 0 customer complaints.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. So we
Oh,
just wanted
great.
to say thank you and acknowledge you.
It is an honor and a privilege to receive this crystal bus. It's good to know that your service is not in vain, and it's an honor to be able to go out there and serve the people. You know, and I just have to thank everyone for this surprise. I just have to give God the glory, because I know where I come from, and the Bible tells us every good and perfect gift come from above. So I have to thank Him first, and thank TransDev, and thank all those who've helped me, the supervisors, the trainers. I'm blessed to be able to stand there in front of you. I'm blessed. So I say thank you to everyone who was part of this, and this is a surprise I will not forget. Thank you very much.
Ricky, stand up. Let's give you some recognition.
And next, we would like to acknowledge Intercon Security Officer Suzanne Scudo. To present this item, we have video from Tom Atterbury, who is our Senior Director of Safety and Security.
Thanks, MJ. Today we're honoring Intercon Security Officer Suzanne Scudo, whose quick thinking and decisive actions during an incident demonstrate true heroism. After witnessing a severe accident that left a man injured next to his bicycle in the middle of a busy roadway, Suzanne didn't hesitate as she ran into oncoming traffic, risking her own safety to block vehicles and prevent further harm to the individual. She helped protect the individual bicyclist until emergency responders arrived, preventing what could have been a tragic outcome. Her courage and quick action embodies the highest standards of service and dedication. Let's surprise Suzanne with the Crystal Bus Award. Suzanne, I want to present you with the Crystal Bus Award. On behalf of the RTC Board of Directors and our CEO, MJ Maynard, and the entire executive staff, I want to present you with the Crystal Bus Award for the outstanding job that you did rescuing that bicyclist that went down and was injured. You did a great job. You showed a lot of dedication, a lot of courage. It was in the dark. The man was injured, shattered his collarbone, and you got him up and helped him. And in his words, not mine, you were a godsend that night. So congratulations. And thank you so much for your dedication and courage and what you did that night.
I just want to say that I'm really thankful for this award and the recognition that RTC has given me. And I really enjoy my supervisors and my team and the company I'm working with. And, you know, I just like getting out there and being with the public and helping in any way I can.
Suzanne, stand up so we can recognize you.
So we'd like Ricky and Suzanne to come on down, take a picture with our commissioners. Great job, you guys. Best part of the meeting, I think, when we get to recognize amazing people. So now we would like to do, as we do every month, talk about our monthly ridership. As a reminder, we have a pretty rigorous data validation process, so the information you receive is about 2 months behind, so this is February. If you note that on-demand service is up by 22%, residential 3%, and the strip 37%. And that is due to, again, TransDev and Team RTC looking for a way to address the complexities of providing service in the strip, and there was a major change made to the schedule on how they are operating that. It's scheduled versus headways, and it's proving to be very, very successful. And again, you can see here, again, the Deuce ridership, not only are we seeing improvements, but it really is impacted by the events that are in town, the construction on the strip, that sort of thing. But we've heard nothing but positive comments from drivers on just how impactful, positively impactful this change in scheduling has been. So as we do every quarter, we provide you a roadway funding update, and to present the third quarter is David Swallow, our Deputy CEO.
All right, thank you, MJ. Good morning, Mr. Commissioner, members of the board. Before I begin, I want the roadway funding update. I'd like to recognize our FAST team, our traffic management team, as they were awarded the Institute of Transportation Engineers Mountain District Transportation Achievement Award for Safety for the Advanced Intersection Analytics Project. So this was a 6-month pilot program testing artificial intelligence technology to capture data on vehicle and pedestrian counts, traffic safety incidents across 8 intersections in the Las Vegas Valley. So this was a really important program, but it wouldn't be successful without the partnership of the City of Las Vegas, Clark County, and the City of Henderson, as those were where the intersections where we had this technology deployed, and really these were picked because they had high crash concerns, a history of frequent citizen inquiries, and known traffic patterns that changed and needed to be evaluated. So the success of this pilot project was led to us receiving a $2 million grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation for further testing. So it's a really important project, not only to demonstrate the technology, but to leverage that success into getting more support for future deployment. This data will help provide data to law enforcement for targeted enforcement if there's certain areas where we're seeing a recurring pattern of, say, red light running or other things. I know the City of Henderson really got on that, and just by having this information was able to do targeted enforcement for a day and really helped, I think, address a growing concern there. The other thing it does is help inform engineering for how we might redesign the roadways or the intersections, and then in the end lead to better traffic management. So hats off to RTC's FAST team for this award. With that, I'll go to our quarterly roadway update. For the third quarter of fiscal year 2025, to date, as you can see here, we have 702 projects that have been started since FRI was implemented in the beginning of 2014, with 501 of those projects completed to date. These are projects made possible by all local funding sources, including fuel revenue indexing, motor vehicle fuel tax, and sales tax. As of today, we also have 96 projects in design and 105 in construction. When you look at the total contracts that we've done with the jurisdictions, we've awarded actually close to $3 billion in roadway contracts to the jurisdictions to date, with $2.5 billion of that in fuel taxes and $465 million in sales tax. When you look at the projects under contract, you can see how these compare to the revenues and expenses. If you look at the graph, the total contracts, again, $2.97 billion, with expenses of nearly $2.3 billion and revenue of about $2.8 billion. And a little bit, the reason why the revenue is a little bit lower than the total projects is because we bond to bring that funding forward to do more projects sooner. Most importantly, I think we see, in addition to the infrastructure improvements, is the number of jobs that have either been directly, indirectly, or otherwise complementary to this roadway construction. So to date, you can see on the graph, over 22,000 jobs have been supported by that. During the last quarter, we have a couple projects that we'd like to highlight. These projects showcase our partner agencies and the contractors and how they're effectively utilizing critical roadway funding to improve mobility, enhance safety, and maintain our valley's roadway network. Oh, sorry. The first one is what's known as Areas 4 and 5 roadway rehabilitation down in Laughlin, Nevada. This is really to enhance the safety, accessibility, and long-term reliability of these roadways for the community. Improvements included fresh pavement, rebuilt sidewalk ramps to meet ADA standards, new striping and signage for better visibility, upgraded storm drainage, and necessary utility work. These enhancements not only support a smoother and safer travel experience for all road users, but also reflect our ongoing commitment to maintain vital infrastructure in Laughlin's neighborhoods. The project wrapped up in January 2025 at a cost of approximately $7.5 million. The next project I'd like to highlight is in the city of Henderson, focused on improving the Seven Hills Drive Loop and the stretch of roadway from Grand Hills Drive to St. Rose Parkway. The project resurfaced the roadway, added new traffic signals at the beginning of the loop, reconfigured the intersection of St. Rose Parkway and Grand Hills Drive to include a dedicated left turn lane and dedicated through lane to improve traffic flow. Safety upgrades included new crosswalk striping, flashing beacons near local parks for people walking and cycling, ADA-compliant sidewalks and ramps, and brighter, energy-efficient LED street lighting. These improvements enhance mobility, ease congestion, and make the area safer and more accessible for drivers, pedestrians, families, and students at the nearby elementary school. Project wrapped up in February 2025 at a cost of approximately $7.75 million. Next project we'd like to highlight is in the city of Boulder City. Boulder City recently completed the Railroad Museum Road project, creating a second access point and 159 new parking spaces between Yucca Street and Boulder City Parkway. The project improved access to nearby businesses and supports the State of Nevada Railroad Museum, which is currently under construction. In addition to easing congestion and boosting local foot traffic, the project also provides essential water and wastewater infrastructure for the museum and the planned linear park. The investment strengthens the connectivity and supports economic growth and helps create a more vibrant and welcoming destination for both residents and visitors. The project wrapped up in January 2025 at a cost of approximately $5.75 million. Next, I'd like to highlight, this is the final project we'll highlight right now, is the Charleston Boulevard Complete Streets project in the city of Las Vegas's medical district. This video on the next slide showcases the recent improvements and how they've helped transform this key corridor in the heart of our community.
After years in the making, the Charleston Boulevard project is finally complete. This $33 million investment has transformed one of Las Vegas's busiest corridors, making it safer and more accessible for everyone, whether you're walking, biking, driving, or riding transit.
Hi everybody, I'm back. My name is Gina Venglass, and I am the Assistant City Engineer for the City of Las Vegas Public Works Department. I'm here today to talk about our Charleston Boulevard project. This is one of our most exciting projects that we wrapped up construction for in 2024. We wanted to do something right here in the heart of the medical district to help mobility. With UMC's major presence in this corridor, we needed to get traffic moving better, but slower, as well as provide for pedestrian realm. But one of the biggest benefits to this project, besides wider sidewalks and increasing pedestrian mobility for all users, was the intersection of Charleston and Rancho itself. As a part of the $33 million investment, we were able to completely transform that intersection by adding a new right turn pocket, westbound to northbound, as well as realign all of the travel lanes to coordinate and make sense in that intersection. The City of Las Vegas has a very active and engaged Cultural Affairs Department, and also a very active and engaged councilman. Councilman Knutson was instrumental in helping the city work together with the Neon Boneyard Museum, as a matter of fact, to get the free aspirin sign incorporated into this project and installed in the median behind me.
Hi, I'm Brian Knutson. I represent Ward 1 in the City of Las Vegas and the Las Vegas Medical District. I'm so excited for the improvements along the Charleston corridor, wider sidewalks, tree-lined streets, and most importantly, we're going to have public art for people to enjoy as they're walking down the new Charleston Boulevard. Thank you for the Regional Transportation Commission, the City of Las Vegas, and everyone who participated in making Charleston an amazing place to live, work, and play, and now walk.
Hello, I'm Kevin Mills. I own the Omelet House, which was established in 1979. And over the years, I've watched Las Vegas implode itself and modernize. Well, every year, this little corridor on Charleston has gotten more aged and dated. And so I was very excited when I heard that the medical district project was going to happen. This area has gotten a facelift and it looks great here. I couldn't be happier with the end result.
The improvements to Charleston Boulevard aren't just about roads and sidewalks, they're about creating a safer, more connected community. Wider sidewalks, better lighting, bike lanes, added traffic signals, and street trees all work together to make this corridor more welcoming for pedestrians while keeping traffic moving smoothly and safely. Thanks to the vision of local leaders and the support of organizations like the Neon Museum, this project reflects both the history and future of Las Vegas, ensuring that Charleston Boulevard remains a vibrant and accessible space for everyone.
Okay. Great video, great project. Nice to see that. I love the free aspirin and tender sympathy. I hope people remember that tender sympathy when they...
Is aspirin free? I just am curious. Councilman?
At the county hospital, maybe.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. There were two other projects that were completed during the last quarter. The first is in the city of Henderson, Kelso Dunes and Gibson traffic signal. This is a new traffic signal at Kelso Dunes Avenue and Gibson Road, also including a mill and overlay of the existing pavement, new pavement markings and sidewalk, concrete cross gutter, utility and storm drain modifications and adjustments and other items of work. Project wrapped up in February at a cost of approximately $1.4 million. Secondly, we have the Galleria streetscape improvements between Moser Drive and Papco Road. This included roadway landscaping and block wall improvements on Galleria Drive between Moser and Papco. Additional items of work included utility modifications, street lighting, signing, and pavement markings. This project actually wrapped up in December 2024, but we just closed out the interlocal at a cost of approximately $1.4 million. There were no construction projects in Mesquite this last quarter. We'll look forward to the next quarter. That concludes my presentation. I'm sorry, there was one more thing I wanted to remind everybody of. As you know, we have the Seeing Orange website. We brought this up back in 2015 to help everyone see where all the construction is occurring in roadways. And I'd like to remind everyone, just because there's construction in the roadway doesn't mean it's roadway construction. There's often a lot of utilities, off-site improvements for new private development and other work that's occurring. But Seeing Orange, we try to wrap all that in there, and so it's a great site for everyone to see what's going on throughout the valley, what the schedule is for those respective projects, and who they can contact if they have any questions. And that concludes my presentation. I'll turn it back to you, MJ.
Thank you, Mr. Swallow. MJ?
Questions?
Any questions, comments from the board? All right.
Great.
MJ.
Thank you. Charleston Boulevard, I think, is a perfect example of how painful it can be during the construction with the orange cones, but when you get on the other side of it, it is remarkable, the improvements that it provides to all modes of travel. It's amazing.
I would just like to remind my constituents that Charleston was just one phase, and there's still Alta that's under construction, and Rancho's under construction next, so it's not over yet, so just don't get their hopes up too high right now.
But Charleston is wonderful. Okay, so now we're going to, for our next item, this is a quarterly presentation from our Metropolitan Planning Organization, and this month it will concentrate on our role as the Southern Nevada Strong Administrator. And to provide this presentation is Deb Reardon. She's our Regional Planning Manager.
Thanks so much, MJ. For the record, Deb Reardon, Regional Planning Manager. And as MJ mentioned, the RTC's Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, provides a quarterly update to the RTC board. That's better. This quarterly update will focus on the Southern Nevada and our role in administering the Southern Nevada Strong Regional Plan, a community vision for how we grow and the steps we need to take to make it happen. The RTC's role in regional planning actually began back in 1981 when we were designated as the Metropolitan Planning Organization for Southern Nevada. Following the City of Henderson's leadership role in developing the Southern Nevada Strong Regional Plan, the RTC became the administrator back in 2015. This role includes raising awareness of the plan's vision for reinvestment along existing neighborhoods, supporting implementation by providing research and data, convening and facilitating collaborations, and engaging the community in regional issues. The Infrastructure and Jobs Act of 2021 gave MPOs even more tools and funding to collaboratively lead regional planning. Since that time, we've experienced many changes in our community, including a pandemic, a recession, hotter days, more expensive housing, and more. And so in response to these changes, the Southern Nevada Strong Steering Committee directed the MPO to update the regional plan. Southern Nevada Strong 2050, as we're calling the plan update, is a plan to bring housing we can attain, higher paying jobs, and better ways to get around the region for everyone. And with 1 million or more people expected to move to our region by 2050, it's more important than ever for us to come together to ensure that we're more resilient as we move forward. This is why all of us, alongside our neighbors, our businesses, our nonprofits, are coming together to create the Southern Nevada Strong 2050 plan. 2 weeks ago, we kicked off the Southern Nevada Strong 2050 with over 250 stakeholders from public, private, and nonprofit organizations. Kickoff week included workshops with 3 technical groups, as well as our steering committee. Events also included a reception at Atomic Kitchen with motivational speakers, including Nikki Fargas from the Las Vegas Aces and RTC CEO MJ Maynard. Kickoff week sparked a lot of renewed interest in regional planning and collaboration, but now the real work begins. Over the next year and a half, we will revisit our plan for growth through the Southern Nevada Strong 2050 plan. Through 4 phases, we'll take a close look at how the region has changed since 2015, how Southern Nevada Strong has made a difference, and address our new challenges, including how we can become more economically resilient. So while many partner organizations like the Governor's Office of Economic Development, the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, and local agency economic development and redevelopment departments really lead economic development planning, Southern Nevada Strong 2050 will support this work in identifying those regionally significant activity centers. Activity centers are places where people gather and contribute to the economy. Think of the Strip or downtowns in each of your local communities. This will help us identify and target our investments to these activity centers to priority locations, improve access to jobs, for example, identifying where transportation improvements can be even better, attain and attract businesses, and promote more sustainable growth. So once we know where the most important jobs can be, we will look at regional housing needs. We are working to develop a housing strategy that has not been done before at this scale. The regional housing strategy will, first of all, count the number of homes of all types. This includes supportive housing, apartments, condos, as well as single-family homes that are planned through 2050. Next, we'll forecast the future number of homes that are needed by income level. Then, building on this work, we will work together to identify the policies and resources that are needed to fill gaps. I'd like to point out that this gap analysis, or this step actually, includes determining how many homes across all those different income levels might be needed within each of the different municipalities. Planning will also address the needs of our unhoused community members. And lastly, we will include visual storytelling of housing needs to support needed policy changes and funding requests. So after understanding where the jobs will be concentrated and where housing our needs are, it's time to match those jobs and housing on the ground to our available land. We initiated the underutilized lands inventory to understand where we have existing potential for development. Through the use of assessor data, we have identified 78,285 acres of vacant and underutilized land in southern Nevada. If we combine them all, to put this in perspective, it's larger than the entire city of Henderson. So many underutilized parcels, highly underutilized parcels, are actually concentrated in the central part of the valley and along many of our transit corridors that we're already investing in. So here's an example of what that looks like on the ground. The graphic you see shows how underutilized land, like large parking lots that don't currently have a lot of economic activity, have some potential for development. We know that land that is identified by the underutilized land inventory may or may not meet all of our community needs. So we will use scenario planning, a tool to look at trade-offs to evaluate the different ways in which we may be able to grow. These choices may result in higher or lower infrastructure costs, water use, housing costs, transportation costs, and more. The graphic shows scenarios that were developed by Envision Utah. The scenarios they chose included looking at what would happen if we continued in the traditional historic pattern versus growing outward, and then also looking at how that compared to growing along existing transit corridors. We will be bringing similar scenarios to the board for input and ultimately decision-making through the Southern Nevada Strong 2050 plan. So over the coming months, we will be engaging the community to, first of all, raise awareness of regional planning and the Southern Nevada Strong 2050 plan, really work to understand the current challenges, and begin to shape our shared vision for growth. The RTC board will be invited to briefings, and fair warning, we'll be also asking you to really roll up your sleeves and join us at technical meetings, focus groups, and outreach events. Through these forums, we really hope to learn more about your vision for growth, regional economic development and housing needs, and how we can really work together for a brighter future. For community members attending today that want to get more involved, please scan this QR code to sign up for updates or learn more about our work at southernnevadastrong.org. Thanks so much for your attention. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts or answering any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Reardon. That was great. Councilman Knudsen.
Thank you, Chair. And I had a couple of requests, both on the SNS side and on the transit side. One of the biggest challenges I'm facing in my ward right now, and opportunities as I see it, is the Campus for Hope, which is going in or potentially going in on the campus, the Southern Nevada Adult Mental Health Campus, right next to CSN on Charleston and Jones. That would probably be one of the largest land assemblages within your study. It's about 77 acres. So as that land gets developed, potentially gets developed over the next couple of years, I think it's going to have an impact on the public transit side. And so using SNS, looking at what it looks like from a community perspective to develop that underutilized land. The zoning's already in place, but for many of the parcels you located, the zoning's not in place. And rezoning from a local government perspective has huge implications for both the body and the neighborhoods surrounding. So it would be great to have SNS involved in when that project comes to fruition, looking at how neighborhoods respond to that, how transit responds to it, and how the development actually comes to be a productive part of our community. So both sides, I think it'd be great if you guys were involved more so on that project. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you had said a different name. That's cool. Oh yeah. Thank you very much for the presentation. I'd like to go back to the slide, the underutilized lands inventory. If you'd be so kind. That's the one. Yeah, I do recognize, of course, that in North Las Vegas that we do some of these lands that are identified as vacant. I'm not sure how this thing was put together, but I'd like to point out that some of these lands, that are vacant here, that reside in this area, it gives an impression that these lands are developable, I think, for residential use. But to the far northeast, that land is industrial land. It says underutilized. Well, there are entities and businesses that are looking going there. Matter of fact, we're trying to figure out how in the next a decade or so we'll be able to actually get people. We're actually thinking about having as many as 20,000 jobs, in the next couple decades going out there. And there's going to be a challenge to get people moved out there and back, right? Also the land north of the 215, right? That is, of course, land that some of it is held already, and there's plans. But it's kind of giving a little bit of a skew that I think is not really based on any sort of a reality here. So I guess my question is, how much is Southern Nevada Strong actually working with the municipalities? Because I think that that this had been going through my economic development, right? I think they would probably have a different way of looking at this. Those lands, you start building. You start building residential out there. We're talking about having an entirely new city to have to build infrastructure and services around that may or may not actually be conducive to what we want. Building, I think, a higher level of density along routes that are already established. Those should be a priority. Plus, it seems like our city here, we've had in North Las Vegas a lot of pressure from developers who really want to turn a lot of our commercial land into residential property. And I get it, residential is really, really important. But for the public to realize, to be able to continue to have services, to be able to have police and fire, you have to have a way to pay for it. And part of it also deals with having enough commercial property to kind of help, make contributions to so the public can actually pay for these services that are necessary. I would strongly encourage. Again, I don't see that these maps necessarily reflect a certain reality. It's giving an impression. It's giving to me, it's like giving an impression that there's a lot more land that's really not tailored for what we want. I think what we'd want is, there's lots of land that is already established within these routes and within a place where there's already infrastructure in place. I think that maybe there should be another look along these lands. Promoting urban sprawl it's almost like we're deciding to promote this urban sprawl. Developers like to have this land, but there's so much more land, I think, that could be developed much closer in. And again, this map, I don't think that necessarily reflects that.
Thank you, Councilman Barone. Deb Reardon, Regional Planning Manager for the record. I can respond to, I think one of your first questions was around what this map represents. And so the parcels in the lighter color are vacant by the assessor's records. Partially vacant is how we're defining underutilized land. So those are parcels that have part of the property is not developed, or the improvement value is actually less than the land itself. And that's how we're categorizing underutilized lands. We're actually in the process of developing an interactive map where we'll be able to sort each of these parcels by some of the constraints that you're describing. And so, for example, is this parcel zoned for residential or industrial? What is the size? And is that size aligning with the kind of development that each of the municipalities is really interested in seeing or is feasible on that particular site, for example? We're also looking at a longer term layering this map with existing infrastructure, and doing some gap analysis is a step that we know is necessary in taking. But we did work with all of the local jurisdictions, staff from redevelopment, economic development, planning staff, and others, GIS as well, to really not only, there's the data, and then there's really customizing this finding based on what works for the jurisdiction. And so our planner that worked on this really sat down, almost parcel by parcel with staff and pulled out some parcels that we knew really didn't make sense. And so we're happy to continue that process, happy to customize this tool. What we're hoping is really data to inform decisions and something that everyone can use. So happy to refine it further.
I'll definitely be having that conversation with my staff.
Very good. Any other comments or questions? Oh, yeah, Tracy.
I just wanted to make the comment on is understanding Baron's comments, and it's very truthful on that, but I really applaud what we're doing here with the Southern Nevada Strong and the studies that are coming in. I am constantly being really surprised at the spurts of growth that are coming and coming quickly. And I'm looking at, we have our I-15 study in the south that goes from Sloan down to State Line, and there's like another 6 interchanges planned. We looked at Kyle Canyon, and we're looking at, from between Kyle Canyon and Mercury, another 10 interchanges that are already being planned. And as we look at going along I-15 to the north and headed towards Mesquite and the growth that's going on in the different areas, I think it's absolutely critical that these type of studies go in and really look at the land use, but also, I mean, obviously I focus more on the main freeways and highways, but we want to keep them free and be able to actually get people to and from and make sure that they have the access they need for the economic development, but also the quality of life. So I just applaud that we're doing these type of regional studies, and that is a part of them. And you are, and I've also had many of the municipalities, the city of Las Vegas and stuff, preemptively coming and saying, we're seeing growth in this area, how do we do it? And I think we need to take this a little bit farther in, as we look at the growth and knowing what's coming next, is also strategically plan some of our construction so that we build what needs to be built there first and not build something bigger and then we overwhelm some of the other areas. Anyway, my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Thank you. I appreciate this information. I'll be reaching out to, obviously, in the southwest part of town, we have a lot of vacant land that's encumbered by airport restrictions and R&P restrictions and all of the above, and so definitely want to have that conversation. And you are probably already aware, but the school district was going to go ahead and build some schools and then decided to pull back on construction in order to make similar types of analyses to ensure that they understand where the growth patterns are. So definitely, if you haven't already, be reaching out to the school district to understand what they're starting on their planning process too.
The school district is actually part of our steering committee as well.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Deb, did a great job. And again, our role in this is as the facilitator. Really is going to be what the jurisdictions would like to see. This, again, is for over the next 25 years. So our elected officials, it's what you would like, what you envision, and your, those that come after you, what they envision, certainly what your economic development folks would like to see, what GOET is doing with LBGEA. We are, again, facilitating the conversation around growth for the next 25 years. And to your point, Commissioner, it is about funding and all that. So again, I think this is gonna be a great exercise that is done at a regional basis, but absolutely with our elected officials and their staff really kind of directing the conversation.
We look forward to putting 1 million new residents into Boulder City, so.
And that concludes your
Thank
CEO
you.
report, Commissioner.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Deb. Great job. She's amazing. Okay, so next item is to receive the Nevada Department of Transportation Director's Report by Director Tracy Larkin-Thomason.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. We're just going to start off to do a little kind of an update on where we stand in traffic safety. We are at 98 lives lost, but that is 3% down from last year. And really one good point is that the pedestrian fatalities are down by 17%. Thank you. The pedestrian fatalities are down by 17%, which is good news. Unfortunately, the motorcycle and bicycles are continuing to climb. But it's always good to kind of just keep a track on where we're going and where things are making a difference. One of the things we wanted to highlight is the Driver's Edge program. NDOT has been a funder and a partner in this for actually several decades. It's a strategic highway safety plan that it's a key area that supports the training developments of young drivers. It is specifically a free half-day program for new drivers 21 and under, and it goes through basically scenarios of different driving, and you actually get behind the wheel, learn how to swerve, how to turn into, when you're skidding, and on that, I just highly recommend it. It did just finish its phase down here in Las Vegas, but it is annual. I brought my kids through it when they were just learning to drive. It's an incredible thing, but I just want to kind of point that out as some of the plans, some of the programs that we're in that you don't typically think that maybe NDOT is doing. Then in the next one, coming up on April 21st to 25th is the Work Zone Safety Awareness Week. There are an average of 1,500 crashes in Nevada work zones every year, and that's roughly 3% of all crashes statewide. And the percentage is not really large, but the motorist driving unsafely in work zone has potential for high potential for the catastrophic injury or death for workers. So please, as we put down there, respect the cone, watch out for the workers. Now back on one of my favorite projects, the I-15 Tropicana project. It's back to a standard layout after years as a diverging diamond interchange, and this was always going to be temporary, but we are back to a standard configuration. A little later this spring, the commuters will enjoy 4 lanes in each direction on Tropicana over I-15. Right now, the section is still 2 lanes in each direction as we finish the construction on the median. The southbound I-15 flyover ramp to eastbound Tropicana is now back open after 2 years closure, and the Frank Sinatra Drive and Arena Drive off-ramp will be open later this month. And the remainder of the on and off ramps to Tropicana are expected to be open by early May. And it is still on schedule to be finished, substantially finished in August and finished in September. And on my last slide here, I'm just going to go, we are also doing a roadway rehabilitation project in US 95 through Searchlight, covering approximately 20 miles. This work includes milling and paving, adding new signage and striping, drainage upgrades, repairing fences, and installing tortoise fencing to safeguard the local wildlife. This work began March 10th and should be finished in late November. And thank you.
Thank you, Director Larkin-Thompson. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll turn it back over to Ms. Maynard.
Thanks, Chairman. The next item on your agenda is to approve the consent agenda, which consists of items 5 through 28 and can be taken in one motion.
All right, I'll entertain a motion. There's a motion to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Next item is to receive a presentation on the tentative budget for fiscal year 2026 and direct the RTC Department of Finance to submit the tentative budget to the Nevada Department of Taxation by April 15th, 2025, as required under Nevada revised statute. And to present to you is our Senior Director of Finance, Sherwin Gutierrez.
Thank you, MJ. Good morning, Chairman Jones and members of the board. So for fiscal year 2026, our total funding sources is budgeted at $1.336 billion, with the majority of that coming from sales tax at $312.5 million, fuel taxes $245.9 million, grants at $289.1 million. So for the first time since the pandemic, we have seen fiscal year to date our sales tax to have a slight decrease. So for fiscal year 2025, we are projecting sales tax at $309 million, which represents a 3% decrease. And for fiscal year 2026, we are budgeting $312 million, which represents a 1% increase. So while we have seen an increase in FRI extension due to inflationary increases, we have seen a continuous slight decrease in gallons sold within Clark County. For our budget and projection, we have used our assumptions in our roadway funding model. So for fiscal year 2025, our projection is $229.3 million, and our budget is $245.9 million. Our total roadway funding sources is 739.1 million, coming from fuel taxes at 245.9, sales tax at 78.1 million, grants at 100.5 million, and bond proceeds at 160.8 million. For our transit funding sources, we have budgeted 562 million, and majority of those is coming from our sales tax at 234.4 million, grants at 175.8 million. For our general market and strip corridor fare revenue, we are projecting 60.1 million for fiscal year 2025, and we are budgeting 60.7 million for fiscal year 2026. Now we go to our funding uses. So for fiscal year 2026, we are budgeting our funding uses at 1.336 billion, consistent with our total funding sources, with capital outlay at 749.5 million, contracted services 411.6 million, debt service at 109.7 million, and salaries and benefits at 65.6 million. So for our capital outlay, out of the 749.5 million, 80% of that, or 601.1 million, goes to our roadway projects for all of our member jurisdictions' capital projects. Transit accounts for 143 million, or 19% of the total budget. Our total roadway funding uses, it's 739.1 million, with capital outlay getting 601.1 million, debt service at 109.7 million. So, for our roadway project spend, our audited capital outlay from fiscal year 2015 to 2024, we have spent a total of $2.3 billion. So for fiscal year 2025, we are projecting $446 million and budgeted $601 million for fiscal year 2026. Out of that $601 million, $173.5 million goes to our Maryland Parkway BRT, which also we're receiving $100.5 million from our federal government and also from our congressional delegates. Thank you very much for that. And our local portion at $73 million, mostly from fuel revenue indexing. Our total transit funding uses at $562 million, mostly for our contracted services at $371.7 million, and capital outlay at $143 million. So, while we have seen a significant rate increase under our newly competitive bid contract, which started July 1st of 2023, mainly due to labor increases. Our cost of doing business have sharply increased in fiscal year 23 and 2024, and all bids came in higher. So for fiscal year 2025, we are projecting $166.3 million for our fixed route contract cost and budgeting $176.1 million for fiscal year 2026. Similarly, we have seen a rate increase as well for our newly competitively bid contract, which started today, April 10th, 2025. All bids came in higher as well. And for fiscal year 24 and 25, we have seen also a significant increase in our ridership for this contract. For our transit security costs, thank you very much to our board members for approving amendments to increase the number of officers and doubling our security vehicles. We continuously add resources to provide safe transit system for our passengers and our drivers. And the fiscal year 25 is also based on our newly competitively bid contract. So we're projecting $23.2 million and budgeting $24.2 million for fiscal year 26. Our transit net fuel costs, we're projecting $7.7 million for fiscal year 25 and budgeting $11.3 million for fiscal year 2026. This is net of federal rebates of about $5 million and renewable natural gas credit that we partnered with Southwest Gas and US NV Energy. So, for our transit capital budget, we are budgeting $143 million. Out of that, $99.6 million comes from our different grant funding sources, and most of this budget is for our annual routine bus replacement, which are meeting their end of useful life and some facilities improvement. That concludes my prepared presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Maynard?
Chairman, members of the commission, I do want to remind you, if you look at the 2026 transit funding sources, if you want to go back to that, Sherwin, as you know, we've been projecting that expenses are higher than revenues, not only for this fiscal year, but the next 2 fiscal years. And the only way that we're able to address that is we're using the rest of the stimulus funds that we received during the pandemic. If not for the $303 million we received in the pandemic, obviously we would have started cutting transit service, 2-3 years ago. And so in order to, again, fund the cost of providing the service, that fund balance of $72.3 million, that is basically the cash flow, cash surplus, if you will, that we received from the federal government. And as you know, we have a serious fiscal cliff in front of us. And I just wanted to provide some context on that as we present this budget to you, because we have been talking about this funding deficit for quite a while now, and certainly are working with the legislature for a potential future ballot question to address the fiscal cliff that we are going to be facing.
And to be clear, if the U.S. Department of Transportation announces further cuts, grant funding cuts for transit, then this organization will be devastated.
Correct.
Yep. Any other comments or questions? Mayor?
So, in a simple way, for simple people, me, the FRI, if I had a breakdown of what by locality was done because we have the fuel revenue index, and if I had a breakdown of what is going to be done as projected that we would be able to do if we had the FRI extended, and if I had the burden that would be not extended because we can't do it, and if we had the replacement funding from what? So if we had the projects that we want to do, but we need a replacement funding, and where that replacement funding is coming. So in a very simple way, what did we do? How did we do it because we had the FRI? And what is projected to be done, and what we would not be able to do if we didn't have the FRI? And if we didn't have the FRI, what would we have to do in order to raise a fee, a tax, a magnanimous donation from the federal government that, quote unquote, probably isn't going to happen? So I can say very simply, this is what we got, and this is what we need, and this is what we want, but we probably don't have it if we don't have the FRI. And so when I talk to a legislator who may represent me, or somebody who has a power of a pen, I want to be able to say that. Simple, direct, easy.
Chairman, can you go back to slide 4, just
Yes.
for illustrative purposes?
And Mayor, I'm going to ask David Clyde, so you are asking great questions because we, particularly Angela and her team, are up in Carson City doing just that, to talk about if FRI was not in place, where would we be today? What does it mean if FRI is not continued? What does it mean? What does the future look like? I'm going to ask David to briefly answer some of those questions.
Sure, thanks, MJ.
And if I could interject, I'm not in Carson City, but I talk to people who do go to Carson City, and therefore I'm a de facto advocate to do something. And the more voices we have, I think it would be wise even if I'm not in Carson City.
Couldn't agree with you more. Dave?
Yeah, sure. Try to capture what you were asking. Had it not been for fuel revenue indexing, as we saw on the chart earlier, since FRI was implemented and we began collecting in January 2014, we have collected $1 billion in additional fuel tax revenue to support the projects that, through bonding as well as local match for federal grants, we've been able to turn into nearly $3 billion in projects. That is critically important, especially when you look at this current graph and note that had we just stayed with the 9 cent per gallon that was enacted in the early 90s, our revenue would actually be going down. Absolute revenue would be going down, and that we would have lost all that purchasing power over the last decade or so due to inflation that we would have seen, easily 3.5% per year, which over 10 years is a real impact. Going forward, so with that being said, we've been able to literally deliver hundreds of projects that otherwise would not have been funded. When we look at the gap going forward, we coordinated with the local jurisdictions and the public works teams to identify if money was available today, what are the gaps between what they want to do versus what we have money to do. And I think to date we are seeing about 172 projects worth about $2.7 billion that we currently cannot fund with FRI. To add to that, we are reaching the limit of our bonding capacity in the next few years. So we use bonding to bring money forward to be able to deliver projects sooner to the community, get the benefit of it. But with that being said, we're going to go from currently $300 million a year, roughly, that we program in projects to just $100 million per year beginning in 2030. So 2/3 less revenue available for programming on an annual basis.
And Mayor, if I could just add on to what David has eloquently explained. As a state, we continue to talk about diversifying our economy. And knowing that there are this continuation growth in Apex, there's conversation around developing in Sloan, in El Dorado Valley, the supplemental airport. There is no funding identified for any of that future growth. And so this is not only about ensuring that we maintain the investments that we've made over the last 10 years and address the funding gap that is still there today. How do we grow? How do we continue to grow our economy? And it's critically important that FRI continues to be a working program for Southern Nevada.
So if I may, simple. Let's just pretend I'm from Boulder City. What did Boulder City get? Where do Boulder Cityans drive to? How do they drive through Henderson, through North Las Vegas, through Las Vegas? How did they get from A to B so that I can say you wouldn't have been able to do that? And by the way, I need to know that. Simple things, because I don't understand $1 billion. It's a lot, but I don't understand it. So 500 million, I don't understand that. Jill doesn't have that much money and she doesn't give that much money to me, so I don't understand it. I have to understand in real simple terms what it does, so I can understand, going through Apex and going on the road and what it takes. I need it really simple. And when I get it simple, and when somebody says, I had the worst time getting da-da-da-da-da, I say, you're probably just said you're a FRI advocate then. And they'll say, what's that? And I say, then you need to talk to your friendly legislator and say, I'm an FRI advocate. It has to be really simple for me. And if it's for me, I can explain it.
MJ, if I could.
It's totally selfish.
It's okay to be selfish. I think two things I'd like to highlight first. Had it not been for fuel revenue indexing, we would not have I-11 constructed today. And there were some keen legislators back in the day that really fought to make sure that happened. We would not have I-11 both from the part that the RTC managed as well as what NDOT managed. With fuel revenue indexing, NDOT also gets a portion of that is collected for NDOT to spend in Southern Nevada. The other projects I'd like to highlight, had it not been for FRI, we would not have the local match, the local funds needed to match federal grants. And I like to use the term, so everybody pays, a portion of the gas tax goes to the federal government. Our job is to go get that money back to Nevada. And one of the ways we do that is by having robust local funding sources to go after competitive grant programs. Two grants that we're pretty keen to highlight. One is the Maryland Parkway project, where the Clark County and the City of Las Vegas had programmed funding to do regular maintenance and upgrades of Maryland Parkway, $125 million in fuel revenue indexing funds for roadway work. We were able to leverage that roadway work to go after a competitive transit grant to bring another $150 million back here to Southern Nevada. Likewise, the City of Henderson did that with the Boulder Highway project, going after an infra grant, again having the robust local funding available to be competitive to go after federal grants.
And one last, again, to simplify it, I think when you hear the community talk about FRI, there's the assumption that gas prices are high because of FRI. Over the last 10 years, FRI has cost the general public, when you fill up with a gas tank, 1.4 cents per gallon annually. That's it. And so, again, I think that as we, again, are educating our community and educating our elected officials, we certainly like to use the fact that it is not what's driving up one gas station on one corner to have another price on this corner. The FRI program has been very constrained here in Southern Nevada, and the impact has been de minimis, quite frankly, 1.4 cents annually for the last 10 years. So it's packed a punch, it's done what it's improved how we move in our community and has the potential to continue that growth and economic viability with the program continuing.
So, can I, Mr. Chair?
Of course, Mayor.
I think there's a perception, let me pick on Laughlin. I think there's a perception that you have gasoline cheaper across the river than you do in Nevada. And some people blame the FRI on that. And if I can say the Laughlin gasoline is more expensive by 1.4 cents per gallon annually because of the FRI, it's not 42 cents. It's not my fault, kind of thing.
Yeah.
People will understand that. So if I can use that, hallelujah, because they drive across the river to get their gas. And they think that the FRI, if we do away with that, that's going to solve it.
Mayor, and that's such a good point. We get our gasoline from California, and Arizona has a different market. That weighs in heavily on how much we pay on this side of the border. And I do think that there's maybe a confusion about that. But first and foremost, we pay more even without FRI, we pay more per gas here in Nevada because I get our gas from California. But the fuel revenue indexing program has had a minimal, again, impact at the pump. The outcomes have been just tremendously positive for the community.
I think I've beaten that to a pulp. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman. FRI is fuel revenue indexing. Councilman Wandelas.
So I'm worried about this FRI, just like everyone else setting up here. Earlier in your presentation, it was brought up that we've just about maxed out our bonding capability. My fear is if we lose FRI, we lose that $200 million, but we still have debt service from what we've already bonded. Are we going to have anything left to do anything?
Yes. And I'll certainly defer to Mark Trosdell. The one thing I'd like to point out is we already have the debt service accounted for in the budget. So it's no problem paying the bonds. And frankly, because we have such a robust local funding source, we've been able to get good rates on those bonds. So the debt service is above and beyond. It's nothing that's taken care of. What we have left, though, is what we are going to say we can use as pay as you go. Instead of being able to bond, we just have a net amount per year that we can program for projects. That $100 million a year is separate. It's above all the debt service, so it's free and clear to program to the jurisdictions. But again, it's only $100 million per year instead of $300 million per year.
And $100 million a year goes a lot less far than it did 4 years ago.
Right.
So that amount of money, to your point, Councilman, may be flat like it shows on the graph here, but in terms of how much road we can build for that same amount of money that we can bond against, it's going to go down year after year after year. Councilman.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to, how I simplify it in my mind, and this is what I prepare for, is the most common constituent request I get is something around traffic. So it's going to be street lights, it's going to be speed humps, it's going to be crosswalks, it's going to be changing the sidewalks that they walk on in their area. Our city of Las Vegas uses FRI and a variety of other funding sources to make all of those requests come to fruition. And so if FRI goes away, we're all going to be competing for a much smaller amount of money. And we're going to be competing for those same projects, but we're going to be competing with transit too. And that means we're going to have to make a decision. Do we want to fix a sidewalk? Do we want to make a crosswalk and traffic light? Or do we want to bus people around? And it'll be a choice. And that will be a very difficult choice because some constituency group is going to lose out. So that's how I simplify it for my constituents.
All right. Councilman. Not really on Fry, but this was asked during the Finance Committee meeting. I just want to bring it out here in this meeting as well. The grant money that RTC brings in, is that secure? Are we have any concerns about that, considering there was talk about reducing that even currently or moving forward?
Thanks, Councilman. 2 points on that, because it's a great question. One, I'll tell you that the Federal Transit Administration recognized the RTC because of Mark Trosdahl and Sherwin and the grants team. We obligated all of the dollars that we had coming. And if you don't obligate it, good luck, because it could get clawed back. And secondly, we also went through the grants that are outstanding to ensure that they were meeting the executive orders in terms of semantics and that sort of thing, and we're fine. So we are in a much better place than our peers around the U.S., but I do want to recognize again, Mark and Sherwin and his team, the grants team, have just done a fabulous job there.
Great. All right. Any more? No.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, for anybody who's listening, what you have here is an organization through various means working with the state legislatures trying to bring a measure of control over what we do. Just for you guys to know, right now there are a lot of things that are happening at the national level that are far beyond the control of this board or anybody in the state to regulate. Hey, don't look now, but if anything happens to Medicaid funding, part of the funding that goes to Medicaid comes to this organization. Medicaid goes away, and let's not fool ourselves. We don't know what's going to happen. There's also any number of funding sources, federal funding sources, that might very well impact what our friends here at county do, what happens here to the different municipalities, what happens to the different operating boards here, and most of this is out of our control. Matter of fact, these things actually change almost on a daily basis. So, this fuel revenue index, what it actually does is it brings a very a small but actual bit of control to what the taxpayers can actually control right here in our community. So if you have anybody who's hey, again, one more thing here. As I understand, fuel prices are going down, but that's actually not seen as a really good thing. That's actually a sign of economic volatility. Okay, so just think back here. When things are going really well, right? We don't notice things like small increases in fuel. Right now, fuel is going down, and that actually is not really a healthy thing for our national economy. So again, if you have a chance to educate your neighbors and all this, when they're complaining about this, please remind them that this is one thing that you can do to bring a small measure of control back to your local government. Mr. Chairman, I guess I'm done. Thank you.
Very good. I think that's the end of the presentation, right? Sherwin? Yes, okay. All right, then I will need a motion, right?
Yes.
Yeah, motion to direct the RTC Department of Finance to submit the tentative budget to NDOT by April 15th. All right, there's a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members of the board. Agenda item 30, we do this every year. We look for your approval to move the RTC Commission meeting this month. It's usually the third Thursday. This will be the Thursday after the third Monday. So from May 15th to May 22nd with your approval.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to move the meeting.
Move to approve.
There's a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks, Chairman. The next item is to receive information from our legal counsel. As there are no items to discuss, the last agenda item is to conduct your final participation period.
Very good. This is the second time set aside for public comment. Anyone wishing to provide public comment with regards to any matters that are before the Regional Transportation Commission, please step forward to the podium, state your name, spell your last name for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. We'll start with Ms. Jones.
Good morning. My name is Shelley Jones, SHELLEY JONES. And my sister had asked me to make a comment because she had an accident this morning, so she couldn't make it. And I told her I would. She is blind and in a wheelchair. She takes RTC, and my understanding it's door-to-door policy unless they have a DNLU on board. Well, being that she is blind, the DNLU should not be on the same bus as her, being that she needs some assistance because she is blind and in a wheelchair. And with RTC on demand, I don't know if their policy is the same as RTC's, but they need to go to her door because she's not sure where to go, being that she moved in this place she doesn't have memorized. And if you're talking about safety, this is definitely a safety issue, and it needs to be solved. So hopefully it'll get solved real soon. Thank you very much. Have a great day. And I love all the programs.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Next speaker.
Hi guys, Dennis Hennessy. I'm just a driver. I'm coming up today just to kind of talk about ownership, talk about taking responsibility for actions. As a driver every day, all of us drivers have to take ownership to every stop we pull into, to every passenger we let on the bus, to every decision we make. I'm saying that we need to take a look at our own organizations. For 5 years, I've gotten up here and talked about Jimmy. Nobody's taken ownership with the RTC to help fix this thing. Tom Atterbury and his group, they're working very diligently, and Intercom's doing a much, much better job. 5 years we've been talking about Jimmy, MJ. 5 years we've been talking about Jimmy. This is a guy who defecates and urinates on buses, at bus stops. But according to Tom, that's not illegal. I happen to think it is. His attire, he exposes himself, not intentionally, but because of what he wears. I think that's illegal. 5 years we've been talking about Jimmy. Taking ownership. RTC, you guys and your staff needs to take ownership to what's being done or not being done. Security has improved a long ways. I think Tom and his staff have something to be proud of because they're moving things in the right way. Communication. I think TransDev needs to start taking some ownership towards their lack of leadership in communication. I just gave Sabrina some information. We've been on the paddle that we're on right now, on the schedule that we're on, for 9 weeks. I get relieved every Sunday night on the Sahara route. 9 weeks I've been relieved one time, which means that there were 3 round trips on Sahara for the last 9 weeks that haven't been completed at night. Sabrina has that information, she'll get an answer. TransDev knew about it. Every single member of their management team, their shift managers, their dispatchers, they knew about it, didn't take ownership. I gave it to Sabrina today because I know she'll get it fixed. Now, whether they have been liquidated, damaged for those 9 weeks, I don't know, but I'm sure they will be now. But if it hasn't been run, you guys knew about it too. Why not? Why wasn't something done? So let's start taking ownership. Whether I've been doing this for going on 15 years. Whether you guys want to admit it or not, you go through the morale, everything else. Our system is running worse now than it ever has before. The strip's better, but I think if you started having 10 passengers come in here every meeting to let you know how bad it is, then maybe you'd realize it, because you don't realize it when I get up and say anything. Thank you.
Hello there. My name is Eric Melchizedek Christ Nimrod. You can find King Nimrod in Genesis, the 10th chapter, the 6th to the 10th verse. Hello there, CEO Justin, Chairman Justin, and the great council, and MJ and her great team. MJ, the original rock star. I drink to you. All right then. Agenda 27. I'm in total agreement with the RTC Bike Share Program extension. It is an outstanding program. I think MJ had a lot to do with it. $40,000 is a decent amount. I discovered on Sunday, April the 5th, that there's no more bus stop on McLeod's and Tropicana near the Walmart going west. After pondering, I walked east because there was no sign saying where the stop is now. So after pondering a while, I walked east thinking maybe the bus stop was directly across from Walmart. No. I walked all the way east to bus ID 2821 at Tropicana and Mojave Road. All the way there, no bus stop, no temporary signs. When I got on the bus at Tropicana and Mojave Road, we went past where the old bus stop was, and I believe I saw a temporary sign on Harrison and Tropicana. I believe. It's quite a ways away. Now, how long has this been that way? Getting off the bus, going to the bus stop, coming from Walmart. A lot of people come from Walmart with a lot of groceries. Go to the bus stop, and there's no bus stop. How long has that been that way? And no way to go that way. So I say, maybe it's been there, maybe it's been this way for a month or so, and I'm just late getting onto this bus stop. I don't know, but there is no sign saying which way to go or where the bus stop is now. And triple-digit heat is about to come. So I would expect that if you're doing any more changing of stop signs, you'll be very clear at what you're doing. On Maryland Parkway, it's pretty good. With the construction, you know, you go to a place and it says, go walk this way, so far, 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 and you walk and there it is. But when you go to a bus stop and there's nothing there and not telling you any direction, that's a problem. And as I said, triple-digit heat is coming. So think about us, please.
Thank you, Mr. Nimrod. You're a rock star, too.
Thank you all.
Hello, everyone. My name is Fred Keller. I'd like to thank Ms. MJ for bringing up a point about there's still stimulus money out there from when we had COVID. So What I'd like the commissioners to do is to hold the RTC accountable and to be transparent in everything and anything that they do. Let me back up a little bit and explain this transparency that I'm asking for. And this has to do, again, with COVID money that was given to the RTC from the federal government. As you know, in February, I came here and I stated a case and gave an example of myself being furloughed, as well as other people. I don't know exactly how many there were or who they were, but there were people that were furloughed and laid off. I had a case that I was brought up with the union and NERC as well. The decisions on all those were not necessarily in my favor, but they weren't through a judge, we'll say. They were RTC's opinion on how they interpreted that information and those facts presented. And they decided, again, to uphold the callback of me and probably other people. So I've been in conversation with Decretia from HR, with correspondence from the last time, as well as one that I just recently got. She sent me a letter, and it also included a two-step decision letter from this furlough that we're talking about. I asked them to give me the policy and process for how they would determine to furlough someone. In other words, what would they be looking at for each individual? Their skill, do they have work to do? You know, general common sense things that you would want to ask and decide on as far as who you're going to keep and who you're not going to keep. I didn't get any response back in regards to that. And then I also asked about the stimulus money. And I even asked this the first time. I said, where was the money? What happened to it? We had plenty of money. A month or two after I was furloughed, they got a check for $112 million. Probably by December of that year, of 2020, they had to have had at least $200 million. And as you mentioned, they had a total of $303 million. So the two-step letter, the last paragraph from Francis Julian, who I'm assuming wrote the whole thing, said that the RTC was still currently experiencing financial challenges. How could that possibly be?
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Anyone else wishing to provide public comment? If not, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you very much.